Hi guys, this is Big Boss and I'm here with...
Elena.
Are you sure?
I swear, it's Elena.
Alright, link in the description down below. So, as promised, we're gonna make this video where we're gonna showcase these custom-made consoles with Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Now, we're gonna show them real quick. If that's all you wanna see, we're gonna show them right in the beginning. But if you stick around, we're gonna be talking about how we made them and what we made them. So the first console, we're going to show them in the order that we made them. So the first console we're going to show is the Xbox One X. Now this is the first one that I wanted to start with. So that's what it looks like. And that's the Xbox One X. I started with this particular console. I own both PS4 and Xbox products, but I really wanted the PlayStations to look the best. Since I've never done anything like this, I decided to start with the Xbox One X because I figured it was gonna give me the practice. And so by the time that I did the PS4s, allegedly I was gonna have more practice, even though I was doing like, I think it was like, took me a day, not a full day, but I did one day, I started the next one the next day, and I finished on the third day. So this is the Xbox One X. The second one that I did is the PS4 Pro. Now this PS4 Pro was a little more tricky because this console show a little bit more detail than the other one. If you remember, at the end we're gonna have all consoles next to each other, but if you remember, the first one was more straight up line artwork, and if you're familiar with Peace Walker, you know that that's the kind of artwork that they do for the cutscenes. Nevertheless, this is something that was used, in fact at the end I'm gonna show it. Whenever they show the cover of the Japanese game for Peace Walker, this is the image that they had. I really liked it. And like I said, on this one it was really tricky because of all the details and stuff. Nevertheless, I was pretty happy how it came out. I was very surprised. I always started with the eyes. If I could get the eyes right, everything else is gonna fall into place. But if you get the eyes wrong, everything else falls. Yeah, everything else fails. So believe it or not, it took me 20 to 30 minutes to grow the pants to start. I literally looked at that image for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go. And I did the eye, and it was just like a circle, and I got that right, and I knew everything was gonna go well. So that's the PS4 Pro. So the next one, which is actually very excited, is the base model. Now this one is actually the PS4 that came during launch. And it looks like this. There is a cameraman. Shout out to Rain in the Snow. So by far this is my favorite. And also, here, let me take a look at it real quick. Yeah, you can definitely tell from the very first one to the very last one. There's a lot more detail on this one. It started big, the face. Yeah. It started big, so it was like playing it safe. You can do, as you can see, you're painting with white. I'll show you here in a minute, but you're painting with white, so you're painting in a negative, because instead of doing the black lines, you're actually doing the highlights, and the black is actually the black of the console. So you're actually painting a negative. So on the first one, the black lines were thicker, the face was huge. I mean, the face was the whole artwork, and then the face got smaller, and then the face gets smaller. In fact, whenever I came out with what I wanted to do with this one, I thought about just doing the face and the hand being occupying this whole thing. So the face right here with the hand, just to make sure that the face was big enough to have the black lines be able to show and not having to like paint over them. But I felt that I could pull it off, and it took. I think that's the one that I was stressing the most, but
It's my favorite. So
it's everyone that I've shown these consoles, they have a different one to pick. Some of them really like the Xbox console, and some of them like this one the most. Some of them like this. Funny story on this one. I actually ran out because we use these paint markers, and I actually ran out of marker. And if you can see on this one, if you can zoom in on the hair, you can see where there's like gray and white. Well, the gray is actually the white marker when I was running out. So whenever I ran out, I was like, oh my gosh, I ran out of marker. But then I noticed that everything was coming gray. So if you can see how the highlights work from here to here to here, you can see that here's just white. Here shows a little bit more highlights and gray, and here there's a lot of gray and a lot of white. So basically what ended up happening was, since I ran out of marker here, I went, and it looked awful, the hair looked awful, but whenever I got the new marker, I went over and did the highlights, which ended up working out very good. Now whenever I did the base model PS4, what I ended up doing was I was like drawing really lightly on some areas to allow some of the black to show and to take over and to make it gray. And then I will go back in some other areas to emphasize those white highlights. And so it's everything done with white. So why did we even do this to begin with? So, and then we'll get into how did we even ended up drawing it. But one day I was thinking about limited edition consoles, and you know, usually those are hard to get, whether it's a Spider-Man console, whether it's like Uncharted console, Batman. And I was thinking about like, you know what, I would like Metal Gear limited edition. And I was like, you know what, they do have one, and it's red. So it's basically this model, and I believe that this part is red and this is gold, something like that. I honestly can't remember, but it has the Diamonds Dog logo in it. And I was like, you know, pretty basic, and but yet very expensive. So I was like, you know what? I was talking to Elena, and I was talking about it, and she mentioned like, well, you can use paint marker, and I've never heard about these things. So I was like, what do you mean a paint marker? You mean like a Sharpie? She's like, no, a paint marker. So it just like that. I mean, I started sketching on the PS4 Pro first, and I started sketching it, and then I wasn't happy with what I was sketching. I know it was gonna look good on pencil because that's my style, but I really want to make sure that they look exactly like, not with my style, because I know that my style will take over. I know that I have a certain style, and whenever you start drawing, you start giving your style to that character, and then it becomes your own thing, which is fine. But I wanted to make sure that these things look just like the original art. And that's when I turned to her. So I said, she draws very good, and she has a technique where she can make something look just like the original. So I went with her and I said, I just need you to put me in the right direction. I need you to basically with pencil sketch me the guy, so I can get the right proportions, and I'll go and I'll do the ink part. So how do you did it?
Okay, so pretty much I've seen it used in like some people's art styles, but whenever I was in high school, I had an art class, and one of like the ways that we would try to get the right proportions was by using kind of like a grid to like I guess, started off. So what I would do is I would take the picture and I would print it out. And whenever you have your printed out picture, you start to like grid it. And so what I would do is I would go by like 1 inch by 1 inch just to get like a little square. And you can work smaller by half an inch or however small or big you want to get it. And then you just kind of match the proportions of the picture with your console. And so what I did was I made the grid, and so I gridded out the entire picture that we had. And then I started to do the same grid techniques on the Xbox and the PlayStations so that I could get kind of that blank canvas but with a grid. And so then what I would do is I would take each square and I would match the square with the square. Okay, so it's confusing, but I would take the paper, and match the squares on the paper with the squares on the PlayStation or Xbox. And doing that, I would, like you said, like starting with the eye, that's what I would do, because that's like, I don't know, but that's just kind of how to start off,
I get it.
And so, I don't know, it just feels right when you start with the eye. And so, starting from there, I was able to build on it. And so, once you get your lines all matching from both the paper and the PlayStation, then you can just go back and erase all the grid lines, and then you have your person sketched out.
And it's funny because like some people will do the outline of the face, and once they get that right, they start working in. But like I guess you and I are the same.
Yeah,
We'll do the eyes, and so it was funny because she had the grid on this one, and everything is on pencil, and then she erased it, and you can see like fog all around it, and then we're trying to take it off, and like it's not going away, and we're like, oh. And by that time she already has pencil in it, and I have some of the paint because I start painting on it, and so I started going with wipes all around it, and then I ended up grabbing like a wipe and then wrapped around like a pin, a safety pin, and then just kind of like start scratching really slow. I did that with this and this, I believe. With this you left the grid alone. And it was funny because once I was done, I could like literally just grab my finger and wipe off all the pencils. So, but after we put the clear coat, everything was fine. So I'm really happy how they turned out. Honestly, in fact, I was gonna show this. This is basically where the PS4 Pro came from. This is actually the Japanese version of the Peace Walker for the PS3, and I'm all into covers. I love covers, and I always think that the European and the Japanese ones are the best. This is actually the cover that we got in the US. I wasn't very happy with it. I don't like it, but it's not about the cover, it's about the game. But something about the Peace Walker that I really wanted. Now the name, well, it says Big Balls there, but I thought at one point it wasn't gonna have that. It was just gonna be the sketch, and then I thought that it would be really cool. I'm gonna try to put them on Tosh, but whenever they introduce the characters, they show the picture, and then they show big bold yellow letters their name. Now normally underneath the character name, it will have the voice actor. So this is my name tag, along with like a letter and a number. So then we were like, you start playing with the idea because we wanted to figure out what to do with the empty spaces. So we're like, well, what if we put the name Big Boss, and then underneath I put my name. I don't know. And then underneath I put my name. But that didn't come to pass. My name underneath, because to do it with this big of it was like a thick pencil or a thick marker, that to do such a small letters was not gonna work. I never seen these markers until today. I thought whenever it said fine point, it was gonna have like a fine point, but it was like this big old thick point, so that didn't come to pass. But nevertheless, with the name I think it turned out pretty good. I really liked it. None of the pictures are random either. I didn't just pick like the one that looked the best. Like I said, this one is because I always like that cover. This one with the Peace Walker cutscenes is like it's all over the place, especially on this one because since they have like this kind of like art style, they had to recycle a bunch of the images. So the same image may be shown later on. So it's not a particular cutscene, but there's a particular cutscene that I grabbed this from whenever they're talking about outer heaven and the place where they belong and everything. So I grabbed that, and this is very obvious. If you see Metal Gear, you know where this came from. Is whenever basically Big Boss is done with everybody's crap, and even though I like Metal Gear, it's something about Peace Walker that is just really like. That's my game. Peace Walker is my game, and all the games are great. But I really wanted to have something that really said something about my personality, how I feel, and it was gonna be more personal. Like I said, none of these pictures are random. There's a reason why I picked them. In fact, funny story. If you guys have played Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, so. Like I said, Big Boss, that's my name tag. I relate to this character a lot, and no, I haven't gone to war. But especially on Peace Walker, like I relate to the story a lot. Maybe like knowing the sense of nukes and all that stuff, but I relate to the story a lot. So playing games after Peace Walker, and even Metal Gear Solid 3 and Ground Zeroes, like it was very easy to know where the story was gonna go, because I was thinking like he was. So a lot of things I was like, I would do this. So I don't think that this is gonna happen, and the story will go that way because him and I will think the same way. But when Ground Zeroes came out, and there were like a lot of things that were happening that I was like, I will never do that. Like there's no way the Big Boss will do that because I wouldn't do that. So come to find out at the end of the game, you're not Big Boss. But I knew that as soon as the game started, I was like, this is not Big Boss because I cannot relate to this character. We are not in the same mindset and everything. So, but anyways, so these are our consoles. Better believe it, when PS5 comes out, my only regret is that I did this at the end of their life cycle per se. But you better believe it, PS5 comes out, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start sketching, and I'm gonna do another Peace Walker montage in it. So stay tuned, because whenever it comes out, we're gonna do an unboxing of the PS5, and we're gonna document actually how we're gonna sketch it, and then we're gonna be showing.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for helping me out.
No problem.
Okay, my consoles. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time. Bye.